All right, welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. That is Doug Gottlieb sitting in for that dude, Marcellus Wiley. Coming up, we'll tell you Bill Belichick just handed the Bears some bulletin board material.
And if the Rockets' Carmelo Anthony experiment has any chance of working. But we start today with the Whitlock. What you got, big fella?
Oh, I got The Wire. Remember in season 2 of the greatest show in television history, The Wire? Baltimore kingpin Avon Barksdale lost his drug connection, and the Barksdale crew started selling inferior product. Avon's right-hand man, Stringer Bell, started stomping on the product, watering it down, trying to conceal the fact the Barksdales had lost their New York connection. From that moment on, you knew it was just a matter of time before the Barksdale crew dissolved into chaos and dysfunction. We have the exact same situation with LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. Magic Johnson, president of the Lakers, has instructed head coach Luke Walton to stomp on the product. The product is LeBron James. He's been the NBA's WMD, weapon of mass destruction, for 15 years. He'll be 34 in December. The Lakers acquired James at the end of his historic career. They've surrounded him with a band of misfits. It's like when Weebay went to jail and Brother Muzon got temporarily taken out by Omar. The Barksdales had bad product and no muscle. It's a recipe for disaster. The Lakers, who opened tonight in Portland, are headed for disaster this season. Luke Walton said yesterday that LeBron James will be playing reduced minutes this year. Well, Walton actually said James, who led the league in minutes last season for the Cleveland Cavaliers, will be playing reasonable minutes.
We got 4 years. We want to we want to make sure that we're not only playing at our best come the end of the season, but that he's fresh, and that's a goal for us. And then it's a goal that we're on a journey, and it's not a one-year journey.
All right, if you've seen The Wire, that's Luke Walton shouting, "Yellow Tops, pandemic, Bin Laden," and dilly dilly out in front of the Staples Center. When the Barksdales had bad product, Stringer Bell instructed his dealers to change the names as a marketing ploy. Clever marketing won't conceal the fact the Lakers and LeBron James aren't taking this season seriously. They just announced that their goal for this season is to make sure LeBron is fresh for next season. Lance Stevenson, Rajon Rondo, JaVale McGee, Lonzo Ball, and everybody else on the Lakers roster are just props to be used to make sure Hollywood James doesn't get worn out while making movies, talk shows, tussling with Donald Trump, mediating rap beefs, and all the other brand-building responsibilities he has. This season is going to be an epic failure. The main thing isn't the main thing, and that's never a good thing. It's going to diminish James's standing among his peers who still prioritize basketball over everything. This season is going to make it more difficult for James and Magic to recruit another star to play alongside James next season. Eventually, the Hollywood James experiment will end the same way Avon and Stringer's relationship ended. Magic and James will be standing on a balcony in the Hollywood Hills, overlooking the Sunset Strip, reminiscing about the good old days, embracing one last time before plotting to destroy each other. It's just business. All right, joining the desk.
That's classic.
Joining the desk now is the host.
Thanks for ruining the end for me, by the way.
If you haven't seen The Wire by now, there's no spoiler.
I
Right,
saw
exactly.
two seasons.
Let me tell everybody who's here. Christine Leahy, the host of Fair Game, which debuts next Monday.
On Monday.
NBA champion Steven Jackson, and sitting in for Marcellus Wiley, the host of his own radio show, Doug Gottlieb. All right, guys, tell me why I'm wrong. We'll start with you, Doug. This season, epic failure for the Lakers.
What is an epic failure? Are they not going to make the playoffs? It's all based
40
on
wins, and LeBron
win
James
40
playing 32 minutes a game.
Why would they only win 40 games? Let's start with
Dysfunction and
let's
chaos.
start with what were his other possible destinations? You can't.
Why do I have to go there? We're talking about what's going to happen this season. I don't have to explain what if he went here or there.
Yeah, but you do, though.
No, I don't.
You're acting as if, yeah, you do, because where else could he have gone? Could he have stayed in Cleveland? No,
What
that house
difference
was on
does that
fire.
make? Is this season going to be a failure or a success?
What's a
LeBron James playing 32 minutes. Lakers fans sitting there saying, this ain't Kobe. This dude ain't even trying. And the chaos and dysfunction, all these players around him being used, and people looking at the end of the day going, you know what, LeBron James ain't all in on basketball anymore. Jimmy Butler, Kawhi Leonard, not Paul George, Kevin Durant, everybody saying, I really don't want to mess with that in L.A.
If 40 games is a disaster, then no, it will not be a disaster. If high 40s to 50 wins is a success, it'll be a success. They're going to win an NBA championship? No. But
they're going to diminish LeBron James. He's not all in on basketball.
And
it's going to be crystal clear.
How do you know? Because during the offseason he is?
Because the man just announced he's playing less minutes, and our goal this season is to make sure he's fresh for next season. Steven Jackson, help me. Or Christine, ladies first.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know what's success for the Lakers this season? People talking about the Lakers. And we're already doing that again much more than we have in the last few years. It's fans being excited to be at the games again.
Talked about Lonzo Ball all last year.
Yeah, but it wasn't in the same way. There's an I want to go, actually, to these games. And to me, Rondo, JaVale McGee, and Lance Stevenson, I am signed up for that.
The circus. You
yeah,
want to see the circus.
That's entertaining.
The clown show.
You know what it kind of reminds me of, though? It reminds me of when I was back with the Celtics, and they had Delonte West, Kendrick Perkins, Nate Robinson, Big Baby, and Shaq. It was the craziest group of people, but they had so much fun. It was really entertaining, and that's what the Lakers are all about.
They didn't win nothing.
And of course, they're talking about keeping LeBron in restricted minutes because they've got him for 4 years. They got to make sure he lasts.
Right. I look at it as when you look at the West, 40 to 50 games, that's 4th seed to 8th seed. That's a successful season for the Lakers, being a possible 4th seed.
LeBron James winning 40,
making
45 games.
They're
When has LeBron James ever won 45 games? We talking about LeBron James. I ain't talking about the Lakers.
Right,
We're talking about LeBron James.
And we're also talking about this year. We're also talking about this year.
And they're waving a white flag before the season.
Jason, no, they're not. Just because you say it was insane to play him that many minutes. He also played that many minutes and didn't practice.
When
this
have
year,
you
he will
ever
practice.
in your life ever heard a coach say, we keeping a guy fresh for next season?
That's exactly what Phil Jackson did when he was the head coach of the Lakers.
You never heard it.
He didn't say for next season.
He
said
did
for the
say
end.
for next season.
He said this is a 4-year plan. No one thinks they're going to win a championship this year.
Right, let's think really. Are they even going to make it to the Western Conference Finals?
We have to be
this year?
realistic
No
with the
way.
expectations. That's what it is.
Okay. So we agree the Lakers aren't going to be a championship.
Not at all.
We all agree.
We just heard the coach say that the goal, he said, those were his words, the goal, make sure he's fresh. This is a 4-year deal. So basically, we know we can translate that. We're keeping LeBron fresh for next season. We're throwing away this season. We're going to play LeBron restricted minutes.
You're the one translating that.
No.
That's our job.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to play LeBron like they played him in Cleveland. It don't make any sense to do that.
This team is built, constructed differently than anyone. If you want to talk about interesting, it's constructed as a 10-man roster, okay? We're talking about JaVale McGee, but the truth is he started for the Golden State Warriors who won a championship. He'll play 20 minutes or so. You're talking about Lance Stevenson. He's a bench player. This team's strength is 1 through 10, probably not in top 5, because Brandon Ingram's probably a year away from being an all-star. Josh Hart is going to be in his first year, essentially, of being a starter. Eventually, he'll beat out KCP, and they'll see what we have from Lonzo Ball, who has to beat out Rajon Rondo. But considering you're coming off the 5 worst years in the history of the Laker franchise, to go from that to winning high 40s, I think that's actually a dramatic change.
I don't acquire the greatest force in the NBA to go, you know what, this year, we're going to construct a 10, 11-man rotation. We're going to protect you so that next year, when you're 35, we're going to take a run at this deal.
You got all these guys on 1-year deals, right, surrounding him. Let's say LeBron gets hurt. Let's say LeBron starts to look tired. Let's say he doesn't want to play as much. That's not what you want next year when you want to start recruiting those bigger stars to come play with LeBron.
What's going to really happen is what happens in Cleveland. LeBron is going determine how long he plays.
Correct.
The coach is not going to determine that. And when the season gets going and LeBron gets into the flow of things, I guarantee you those minutes in Cleveland, some of those nights he will play. But LeBron understands, just like Luke understands, just like Magic understands, we can't put everything into this season. This is not saying we're going into the season laying an egg. We're going to go out there and do what we can, but we understand what we got coming this summer.
Why is it so hard to
It's
look
a business.
I know. Why are we so... that's what I ended on.
Yeah.
It's just
Everybody
business.
money.
Yes.
Why is it so hard to look at the facts? LeBron James is out here on some Hollywood-ish. He is. Everybody knows. Everybody knows.
I haven't been to a
TV
meeting in LA
shows,
where they didn't come up.
Hold on.
movies,
Hold on.
hanging out with DiCaprio and all that. He's out here on some Hollywood stuff, and the organization has agreed with him. LeBron, you can take this year off. We're going to construct a 10-man, 11-man roster around you so you don't have to play as many minutes, and you can go do all your brand building and do the shop and sit around with Drake and mediate rap beats.
He's been doing that. Before he got to LA, he's been doing the shop.
He did a good job.
He did movies before that, and this is one thing about LeBron. You can say that they have a plan the next year or whatever. LeBron is focused on basketball, and everything that happens, you can't tell a man how much success that you can have. Let this man be as successful as he wants to, but he does handle his business on basketball court. So if he handles that, you don't worry about what he's
So
doing.
are we pretending like, Doug, are we pretending
Magic
like,
did- I mean,
when
Shaq
Luke
did it.
Walton came out and said this about reasonable minutes, less minutes, we're going to play more guys. He did all that without consulting LeBron. That's not he's not also speaking for LeBron.
No, it's all part of the plan.
they
It's
consult.
also like
agree.
part of the plan to play him at center some. Look, my best friend in sports is Miles Simon. He's an assistant coach for the Lakers. And he's like, you would not believe the difference in the level of intensity in every workout, in every drill since that guy stepped out in the court. So you can sit here and tell me that because he has more shows on TV, because he's aligned with Amazon and Netflix, and like he's the first one to be able to get all these different entities to work together kind of at the same time, or allow him to have shows at different places at the same time. The fact is that when he steps onto the floor at the practice facility and when he steps on the floor at Staples on Saturday night, he's a great basketball player.
Everybody level rises.
He is
32
elevated
minutes a night.
Fine. If he's in the fourth quarter, that's all that matters. If it's in winning time, so that he's not tired. What was the flaw against the Golden State Warriors 2 seasons ago in the finals? He was great in the first and second quarter, but then he would run out of gas because it was too much.
The flaw was J.R. Smith. It wasn't the minutes.
No, it wasn't. He
J.R.
got lit up.
Smith
He got
jacked
lit up.
game one, and that turned the whole thing around.
2 years ago when it was actually a series. 2 years ago when it was a series, he ran out of, he didn't have it in the tank in the second half. And this will allow him to have it in the tank, and the plan is not
Next
just
year,
for this year.
when he's
got a lot of
35.
energy.
That doesn't mean you take the year off.
Look, and we've seen Tom Brady do some crazy things late in his career. But I haven't seen it in basketball yet. With all these young guns and young lines, I haven't seen a 35-year-old guy that I'm saying, oh, he's going to carry. I saw it with Michael, but I haven't seen it anyplace else. I don't expect LeBron, waiting for LeBron to turn 35 and then we're going to make a run. I think all these other players around the league are going to look at LeBron and look at this season and go, he ain't really about this life no more. He's about other things beyond basketball. And that's not a disrespect. That's just fact.
He good at multitasking.
I'm not getting mad. I'm just speaking facts. He's not about this basketball life right now.
Look, I'm not going to dispute that coming to LA in part was about Hollywood. But it's just like anybody that makes a life-changing decisions. You do the pros and cons, and that was part of it. But I also think a big part of it was how they restructured this roster so that they're in position to get an Anthony
Band of
Davis
clowns.
next year.
Okay, next year. Okay, I got you.
To
He won't
next
be
year.
getting slammed
And
and,
he's
beat
gotta
up this
play.
year. I guarantee you that. He got a lot of guys that's going to stand up for him. He hasn't had that his whole career. So at least he
Oh,
got
they
that
really
this year.
slam and beat up people in the NBA
They were
now.
slamming him, LeBron in Cleveland.
And LeBron did not win a title his first year in Miami, though they got to the finals. He did not win a title his first year in Cleveland. So the plan is set in
Those were
place.
young LeBron.
I understand, but the plan is still set. The plan is this year
Gonna be a
we change the
disaster.
culture.
gonna be a
Next year
disaster.
we
in the finals.
It's gonna be a disaster. I can't. Magic and LeBron James, trust, they're gonna be hugging each other, plotting to destroy each other in 2 or 3 years. Trust
He
me.
got sorry in the year.
Huh?
LeBron got worse in the year.
Not worse. This plan that they put together
He
is
doesn't
not
even care
going
if
to
he
work.
destroys
What's a
Magic.
better?
He's
Give
not
me a
gonna
better
do
plan.
that.
What was a better plan? He was like, what free
Sign
agent was out
somebody.
there that they could have gone and
Paul
got?
George.
They couldn't get Paul George.
I understand that.
He didn't want to come to Los Angeles.
wanted all
You
his
can't-
money.
He wanted all his money.
Plan's not gonna work. All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's Doug Gottlieb sitting in for Marcellus Wiley. We're joined now by a couple of longtime NFL players, Brian Cox and TJ Houshmandzadeh. Let's move to some big stories. Starting in Oakland, where John Gruden's Raiders are off to a terrible start at 1-5, prompting a lot of speculation the team is in tank mode, with rumors swirling that everyone from Amari Cooper to Derek Carr to Al Davis's corpse are all on the trading block. Not surprisingly, Gruden denied the speculation in typical Gruden style.
I'll say this, we're not tanking anything. You know, I hear the hatred out there, some of the rumors that we're tanking it to get a first-round pick or a higher pick. You know, we're not getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to tank it. Ain't nobody tanking it. And I don't know who wrote that or who said that, who thinks that, but that ain't the case here. You know, we're going to continue to work hard, continue to build our team, and that was part of the message.
I think the Raiders are tanking, regardless of what Gruden says. They're tanking.
Not sure that reflects as well as he thinks it does. No, we're actually just bad. We're not trying to be bad. We are just
Look,
bad.
I think they're tanking, and I think it's an organizational decision. It's not just John Gruden. I think the Davis family isn't all in on football right now. It's about getting to Las Vegas, where they'll have more money to spend, and they'll have that $2 billion stadium to generate revenue. I think it's a mistake to tank, though. In the NFL, there is no process. There is no Philadelphia Sixers way to tanking your way to a championship. This is a mistake.
This is Chapter 7, not Chapter 11, right? You're reorganizing. And I disagree with you. I think John Gruden sat out for 10 years and did decide, hey, if I want to do it, if I'm really going to do it, really going to get back in, and there were other opportunities, I want to do it so it's sustainable for the future, right? That's what Chapter 7 is for businesses across the country. They get to reorganize, and they get to cut personnel and cut entitlements that they never really wanted, so they build it for a long-term and sustainable future. That's what he wants. The Raiders made the playoffs 2 years ago, but as he's pointed out and other people point out, they weren't very good. They went for it on 4th down. They had some miracle finishes. And the truth is, I think he thought he could build around Derek Carr and be decent for now. And I believe that the truth is, he thinks even Derek Carr can be replaced. And at the end of the season, you go to next year, you can get rid of Derek Carr, and it's only, I think, $7.5 million in cap money. In other words, they are tanking. You are right, but it's not because of Oakland. It's because when he wants to rebuild it, the reason he won a 10-year contract, he wants to be good for a long period of time.
Well, I don't think they're tanking it. I think they're just a bad football team. When you look at it, the offense is rated 28th in the league. Gruden sat up in the booth and thought it was easy when he was analyzing and dissecting, and now he's finding that it's a lot harder than he previously thought it was when he was the head coach in Tampa. The second thing is this is a cash-poor football team. The TV money is just coming in now. So they got 7 players to make $7+ million. The rest of your team are going to be undrafted rookies or young guys that are unproven.
He's got one of the oldest teams in football.
Yeah, but those guys are not making a lot of money.
Yep.
You know, so when you look at it, it's just a bad team. He needs to get to Vegas and get some money. The TV deal comes in. That's the reason why they let Khalil Mack go.
Get to Vegas for what? Nobody gonna want to watch the Raiders if you suck.
Well,
nobody's.
Raider Nation.
The Raiders have been bad for 15
but
years.
You're going to Las Vegas. They're gonna be up all night gambling. Nobody's gonna get up and go to a game.
Yes, they are.
You'll see. It'll be 40,000 people on a 70,000.
No.
When you
TJ, respectfully, the Oakland Raiders are one of the 5 most popular franchises in the National Football League. They're in a terrible market, which you can't sustain.
So going to Vegas is gonna give them more money.
Yes.
Where they can pay guys.
Yeah. That stadium's going to generate a lot of money.
So you get rid of Derek Carr. You got to draft a quarterback.
Yes.
Is he going? How do you know he's going to be a proven commodity? You don't know that. You have a proven commodity in Amari Cooper. You say you want to trade him. You're going to have to find a receiver that can play. Good luck doing that. You let Khalil Mack go. Oh, let's draft Nick Bosa. You hope he can play like Khalil. What they're doing is completely, it makes no sense to me. John Gruden thinks he knows everything about football, and he does not. That's the problem.
TJ, the only thing that I would argue is you trade those salaries for getting younger players who you think you can develop and bring along yourself.
Right. It's a numbers
Football
game,
is not like basketball. It's not like, okay, I'm going to get the #1 pick, draft LeBron James, and I know he's going to be a star. I'm going to draft DeAndre Ayton, I know he's going to be It's an inexact science when you're picking at the top of the draft in the NFL. These guys aren't always great picks.
I'm not disputing that, but look at what the Rams have been able to do by drafting Jared Goff. You put a good team around him. Look, I honestly believe
if everybody was Sean McVay, everybody would be like Jared Goff.
I'm not disputing that. First of all, he does believe that he's that type of play caller.
And he's not.
And Sean McVay comes from the John Gruden lineage. He was his protege. He was his water boy and then was an assistant coach under his brother in the Arena League. So he thinks that's the guy. Whether he he is or he isn't, and he looks at what Kansas City's done. He looks at what's happening with the Rams. It's not just that you have young, talented gunslingers. It's you have them under a rookie contract and allows you to spread out the money for your entire football team.
Look, he's got a 10-year contract, which gives him a long runway, and he sounds like he's going to lose it or use it. My issue is, again, you start losing the respect of players around the league, that word spreads. And so, again, this little process of nobody's good unless I drafted him. And you start saying, Amari Cooper, let's send him off. Let's maybe jettison Derek Carr. Everybody stinks but me and my guys. That word's going to spread throughout the league, and I think that could be potentially damaging to his reputation.
The only way it doesn't matter is by him bringing in guys as rookies or young. It doesn't matter if the veterans don't want to play for the if he's bringing in a bunch of young guys, it really doesn't matter if the veterans want to go play in Oakland. They're going to go where the money goes.
Guys, that is true with the veterans, but it's also, this is what McDermott did when he got to Buffalo. Whoever wasn't part of his...
Buffalo.
You just compared Gruden to Buffalo and McDermott. That's a bridge too far.
Did Buffalo make the playoffs last year? Did they make the playoffs?
What you just said about when the Raiders make the playoffs?
Hold
It was
on.
all
What's
luck. It
Buffalo
was this,
doing
it was
right
that.
now?
Same
Why do I
thing
got to
with
go back to
Buffalo.
last year? What's Buffalo doing right now?
Hold on. This is what regimes
Playing
do.
Nate Peterman and
this is
Derek-
what regimes, and they were just competitive in Houston with a joke of quarterback situation, right? With Josh Allen goes out with injury. Again, I'm not saying I love what McDermott's doing, but this is what guys do. When they have complete and autonomous control, they go in and their guys are their guys, and everybody else hit the road. He's only doing it quicker, and he's doing it because he's more visible.
And we'll
because
see
he's
if
John
it
Gruden.
works. To a guy Gruden got rid of, Khalil Mack, who has been so dominant this year, he started to draw comparisons to the great Lawrence Taylor. Just don't tell LT's old defensive coordinator, Bill Belichick, who is facing Mack and the Bears Sunday and didn't take kindly to the comparison.
Bill, you've seen a lot of good pass rushers in your career, starting with Lawrence Taylor, Reggie White. Does Mack sort of rank up there with one of the better ones you've seen?
Oh, I mean, we're talking about Lawrence Taylor now. Yeah, I'm not putting anybody in Lawrence Taylor's class, so you put everybody down below that. That's with a lot of respect to a lot of good players now, but we're talking about Lawrence Taylor.
Look, this is a clear pot shot. This is a pot shot because they've already found proof of him comparing J.J. Watt, Willie McGinnis at some point, other NFL player, Jamie Collins when he had him to Lawrence Taylor. This is a pot shot at Khalil Mack, and I'm shocked. Bill Belichick is a guy that gives no one anything from the press box or from the news conference, and he just gave Khalil Mack a little motivation.
He's not worried about Khalil Mack. The thing that I will say about this is, one, Bill Parcells told me a while back that Lawrence Taylor is single-handedly responsible for him being in the Hall of Fame. And secondly, Belichick and Parcells told me that Lawrence Taylor was the only guy that they ever allowed to sleep in a meeting. That's how good LT was, and that's what he means to them. So
Yeah,
I don't look at it as a slight.
Yeah, he's linebacker Jesus. That's like, telling a preacher, yeah, this guy reminds me of Jesus. Like, whoa.
He's compared J.J. Watt, Jamie Collins.
I was super fortunate to get to do my first sideline gig, the Bears versus the Dolphins, okay? And met
This year.
last weekend.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, just Sunday in Miami. Okay, met with Khalil Mack. He's amazing, great energy, right? And we sat with Vic Fangio, his DC. We're like, man, this is one of the great defenses in the history of the league. And even he laughed at it. He's like, whoa. It's 4 weeks in. Let's see how people expose some of our weaknesses. Then I went to the game. Khalil Mack, first one on the field. First player, highest paid player on defense in the NFL. First player on the field. When the game started, he touched the quarterback maybe twice. Like, he's a really good player. He's gotten home 4 consecutive times and gotten strip sacks. It's first time in league history. But I think we need to take a deep breath because Bill Belichick probably watched that tape and was like, look, Khalil Mack's good, but Miami completely took him out of the game as opposed to Lawrence Taylor, who, by his own estimation, you could never take out of the game.
I look at it 2 ways. Bill Belichick never really says much in interviews. And he respects and he thinks of Lawrence Taylor so highly that he was like, hold up, we're going to put this to bed right now.
Yes.
Don't know. He thinks that highly of him, or he doesn't think Khalil Mack is that good. It's either or. Either he thinks very highly of Lawrence Taylor,
It could be
or
both.
he doesn't think Khalil Mack is that good. Because
It
Bill
could be
Belichick,
both.
he normally
It could
doesn't
be
do these
both.
type of things in his interviews.
He went on to say
normally
he's
doesn't do
big.
this.
He said this about Mack. He's big, he's strong, he's got power, he does a good job of power rushing. He's fast enough to get to the edge. He's got good ball awareness. Like,
Tell us something we don't know. We all know that.
He will never give bulletin board material. I
He
think
just did.
This was to elevate what he thinks of LT more than it was a slight against Khalil Mack. You got to know Belichick.
Okay, then how do you explain when asked about J.J. Watt, I think in 2015 and 2017, he was very comfortable. I know they played different positions.
Man, he was
but
clear, don't
because-
even compare him to Lawrence Taylor. No chance. Like, why would you even ask me that question? What are you thinking?
When Bill Belichick doesn't think you're that good, he gives you all the accolades to build you up. When he thinks you're a very good player, he won't necessarily always recognize you in the clouds with the greatest. So I think he has a respect for Khalil Mack, but I think he has the utmost respect for Lawrence Taylor, what he did for his career.
All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's Doug Gottlieb, Brian Cox, and TJ Houshmandzadeh. They're all back. Let's move to Kansas City and my Kansas City Chiefs, who have been lighting up the league with superstar quarterback Patrick Mahomes under center. But now NFL.com actually has the audacity to say Mahomes isn't even the most dominant quarterback in his division, claiming that the honor should go to old man Rivers, that's Phillip Rivers, who has been having a stellar year himself. I think they're going a bit too far saying Phillip Rivers is having a better year than Patrick Mahomes. But what I will agree with them on, or I'll take it this next level, I think the Los Angeles Chargers are a real threat to the Kansas City Chiefs. They're 4-2, playing really well, and there's no Joey Bosa. And once they add Joey Bosa, and that's a guy, for a young guy, one of the most dominant young defensive players I've ever seen, I think the Chargers are for real. And they got great weapons around Phillip Rivers when they actually catch the ball. I've seen them drop some balls, but I think their defense is good. I think Phillip Rivers is having a career year. They could be a real problem for the Chiefs.
I completely agree. They're playing this well without their best player, and frankly, without Hunter Henry, who they felt like their second best pass catcher. And he may, because he tore his ACL so early in the offseason, he may actually be back come playoff time. And if that happens, now all of a sudden, I don't know how you stop them. They've been playing with backups on the offensive line, and they dominated a pretty good defensive line for the Cleveland Browns this past weekend. They have a ton of talent. What happens is people conflate two stories. They conflate the story of the Chargers struggling to sell PSLs and having road games at home with the Chargers not being a good football team. They're a very good football team that unfortunately is caught up in this mess of playing in the wrong stadium and probably in the wrong city. But I agree with you. And then I think the other point is that Phillip Rivers, though being an old man, he has so many more credit hours. The thought is that Mahomes will make the big mistake.
I still think this division is Kansas City's to lose because Kansas City is not the same old Kansas City offensively. Now, defensively, they still have some work to do. But the Chargers were one of my 3 Super Bowl picks coming out the AFC, so I'm happy to see them. Yeah, I had them.
One of my 7 picks out of the AFC.
I had them.
You're like a 15 bracket guy in the NCAA tournament.
Well, I'm not as secure with New England as normally I would be. And then I thought the Houston Texans would come on, but the Chargers are doing a really good job. And if you remember, they started slow last year, got on a hot streak, won 9 straight games. Kim Wisenhunt and this offense is doing a great job. But I do think Kansas City holds on.
That's a tough question. That's a toss-up. Phillip Rivers is Lifetime Achievement Award. That's why they have him ranked higher than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes hasn't done it enough. But until somebody can slow down Kansas City, their defense is terrible. They'll get Eric Berry back, who is their best defensive player. He's going to shore some things up. You can't stop Kansas City. You can't stop them. And defense wins championships. They're consistently putting up 35 points. It doesn't matter who they're going on everybody. So if San Diego can keep pace and stay with us, then let's go.
Here, look, and I love the Chiefs. I got a bias, but here's the issue. I think it's hard to stop any good offense in the NFL right now. The rules are so rigged against defenses that it's hard for anybody to stop anybody. And so then it comes down to, do you have a player who can turn a game with a turnover or create several 3rd and long situations? And when Joey Bosa shows back up, he's better than any defensive player the Kansas City Chiefs have by far as a disruptor, turnover creator, long yardage situation creator. That's what to me gives, hold on, Doug, that's what to me gives San Diego maybe an advantage over the Chiefs.
But Houston was held out last week, the linebacker for the Kansas City Chiefs, as well as Dee Ford was coming back off injury. Those two guys in combination, they don't match Ingram and Joey Bosa, but they're an accomplished group of guys that can go and get the quarterback as well.
And then they have Derwin James, who's playing at a Pro Bowl level, and he's only played 5 games. Like, look, the Chargers have dudes. They have dudes. And
Keelan Allen is one of the most underrated receivers in the league.
Right, yes. And then when you combine that with the experience, I don't think it's a lifetime achievement award, but it's also the fact that what we've seen from the NFL rules, not only can you not touch wide receivers, but immobile quarterbacks that just stand there.
In the pocket.
You can't touch them. Okay, and one of the things that Mahomes has is he's a very good athlete. He's great within the pocket, but he's great out of the pocket. I think once you get to the playoffs, I still think they're going to protect the quarterback, but everything else is going to get much more physical.
All right, to a struggling AFC West team, the Denver Broncos, who take on the Cardinals tonight on Thursday Night Football on Big Fox. Case Keenum has been a disappointment under center so far, and with Denver in critical condition at 2-4, John Elway admits that his team is, quote, fighting for our lives. Look, John Elway is my favorite football player, but as an executive, I think you got to put some blame on him for the Broncos being a bit of a mess here. I like the Case Keenum decision during the offseason to plug him in at quarterback, but the rest of the pieces around that offense just aren't good enough, and their defense now has sprung a leak. I think it's fair to put the blame on John Elway. Vance Joseph, the coach, is going to catch a lot of heat, and he's under a lot of pressure. But I think the same heat should be on John Elway.
I agree with you on the heat on being on John Elway, and it's fair. He gets credit for the 2 Super Bowls before, and he should get credit and get blame for what's taken place afterwards. One of the big mistakes was leaving Vance Joseph hanging out in the wind. People thought he was going to get fired last year, then they bring him back, and we know he's going to be the first coach canned. And that's really hard to change kind of the temperature in a room when people believe that the organization doesn't have the head coach's back in any sport. The Keenum thing, look, he is exactly what we thought he was. He's Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's a really good backup on a really good team, but when he has to win a game on his own, he can't. And there's a series of bad decisions they've made. I don't think Keenum is the worst decision because he was the best possible option out there.
Right. You also look at the draft and what they've done since Wade Phillips has left. They can't find a pass rusher. They've drafted Bradley Chubb. They drafted Shane Ray to try to get opposite Von Miller. So they still haven't figured that part out. They haven't gotten a quarterback. The offensive line is just ragtag. They're just a group of guys. So you would have to say that Elway deserves some of the credit.
Blame.
I think, or some of the blame. I think one of the biggest issues was letting Wade Phillips out the building. That defense has not looked the same since Wade left.
That's a great point.
I mean, they got rid of T.J. Ward. They got rid of Aqib Talib. And defensively, before you'd say, okay, Denver's going to be tough defensively. They got a lot of dogs defensively. You're going to have to really work your way down the field to score. Now that's not the case. And it's Case Keenum is a good quarterback, but he's not a quarterback that's going to take you to the playoffs and win playoff. He's just not going to do it.
Didn't he win a playoff game last year?
He's a good quarterback. But the Vikings defense.
They're not an NFL team.
But the Vikings defense is much better than the Denver defense.
And what happened? We started talking about the Raiders a segment ago, right? What happened with why did they have to make the decision to part ways with so many of their players? Because they paid Von Miller so much money that all of a sudden, guys like Malik Jackson got to go.
I'm not so sure because
Demaryius Thomas makes quite a bit of money.
Yes.
Emmanuel Sanders makes quite a bit of money. They got to play.
But I like Brian's choice or opinion better in terms of letting Wade Phillips. Everybody knows this guy's arguably the best defensive coordinator in football, maybe the best defensive mind other than Bill Belichick in football. And you can spend unlimited amount of money on your coaching staff. There's no salary cap. They could have kept Wade Phillips if they wanted to spend enough money. Or, so I think that decision, I hadn't even thought about that. When I look at why their defense is backing up, Wade Phillips exits the building, and so does your defense.
Yeah, but when you lose players in the secondary that can really play, Wade Phillips or not, it's going to make a difference, but it's not going to make that much of a difference. If you don't have the players that can play, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
All right, thanks, Brian, TJ. All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. Doug Gottlieb sitting in for Marcellus Wiley. We're joined now by Fox MLB analyst Nick Swisher. Nick, let's get right to the controversy. Did the umps get that call right? I disagree.
I think it depends on what side you're rooting for. You going for the Red Sox or you going for the Astros?
I'm not rooting for anybody. That's a bad call.
Yeah, you know what? I had this phone call. I had a phone call with my father earlier today. We talked about this exact play. My dad played the big leagues for 10 years. The whole thing that we were talking about was Mookie Betts entered the fans' area, right?
Yeah.
The fans didn't reach over onto the field of play. So I think this is where we have a little gray area in baseball. We need to get a little more black and white rules, because this right here, Joe West, man, he was loving that, bro. Everybody was watching him. He got to bang him out. But I think the rule is up for a lot of interpretation, and we need to clarify a lot of this gray area.
We need to clarify. He was going to catch the ball, and the fan closed his glove, so he couldn't catch the ball. What's the clarification that's needed? I think you need some gray area. You need some decision.
Why do you need gray area? But first of all,
if a ball is going out of bounds in the NBA, ball's going out of bounds in the NBA, and somebody grabs the basketball. Like, you think that's cool for a fan to do in a big situation?
A basketball.
No, you get out of the way.
But is it in the court of play or is it outside?
No. The ball is bouncing, but you're still in
hold
right?
for a
So you're
second,
going over
Doug.
the line.
If a fan came onto the court and blocked a ball from going into the basket, I get it. But when it's going over into a fence and that's a home run, and the fans don't reach over, they don't do anything really unfair, remotely unfair, but be fans
Now,
and try to
hey, there's no doubt.
I understand the fan, okay? I've been to 100 baseball games at least. I've never caught a foul ball, never caught a home run ball, so I'm insanely jealous of guys that do, and there are no guys that know positionally based upon stadium where you sit.
You also never hit a jump shot when you were a basketball player.
You actually have to, I've hit one, which is one more than you've hit, because you actually have to be in the game in order to hit those. That's not the point. The point is, like, look, we're talking the NLCS, a chance to play in a second straight World Series, and a ball's coming to ALCS. Sorry, I'm confused with the Astros because I grew up, and the Brewers were in the American League and the Astros were in the National League. Damn it. Anyway, you have to stay away.
Right.
And even if your whole brain, like, I don't blame Steve Bartman. Ball's coming. I got those goofy headphones on. I want to catch it too.
Those
but
were
we've all
goofy
learned,
headphones, by the
stay
way.
away, and Mookie Betts would have caught that baseball.
By the way,
They got it right.
and here's where I agree with you. If the fan would not have interfered with that, do I think Mookie Betts would have caught the baseball? Yes, I do.
I don't.
But I think this,
He had his glove open right next
It
to the
hit the
ball.
bottom of his glove, man.
All those fans paid high, top dollar to sit right there. And let's be honest, as a fan, if you and I are sitting and we're chugging some brews, we're enjoying the game.
I'm going for the ball.
and I'm going for it. I want that ball.
But it doesn't stop the fact that it changed the game, and it would have been an out, and it was the right call.
Quickly, we got to move on. Does Boston end the series?
Yeah, I tell you what, man, there are some question marks, I think, for Boston, and this is why I don't think the Houston Astros are out of it. If you look at David Price's postseason record, it's a little shaky, right? So there's one question mark. Number two question mark would be Chris Sale. We know he was hospitalized, had a little bit of a stomach flu. I don't know if it was nerves or he was really banged up or whatever. And number three, Craig Kimbrell at the back end of the bullpen has struggled. He's lit up runs every time he's taken the field. So those are three major question marks for me, for the Boston Red Sox. But I've been questioning them all year, and all they do is just keep winning ball games, man. So, hey, at this point in time, I have no idea.
Look, I love postseason baseball, but tell me something else you do for 5 hours. 5-hour games. All right, how about this question? Let's go to the NLCS.
Okay.
Clayton Kershaw, who's now low 90s Clayton Kershaw, using Uncle Charlie and striking out, I think, he struck out 8 yesterday?
Right?
Nine.
Nine?
Is
7 innings, 9 punches,
Is
baby.
that exercising the demons, or can we now no longer call him Clayton Manning?
I heard y'all talking about that earlier, man. That's bad. Eli can still throw it a little bit, man.
I meant more Peyton, because Peyton was bad in the playoffs.
Hey, well, here's the thing, man. I think Clayton Kershaw is and always will be, as long as he's the Los Angeles Dodgers, the face of the franchise. And you expect your face of the franchise to be able to go and perform in huge situations like this. He had struggled there in Game 1, right? Came back and had 2 great starts back-to-back, giving Dodger fans all they need to know about him and his postseason career, man. Since he entered the league in 2008, he has been one of the most dominant pitchers that we have ever seen in this
Except in the playoffs.
Well, I think he's rewriting that history, right? I mean, we can't just bang on him because he had a few bad starts. If he changes that narrative, then we have to change our narrative as well.
I think that's completely accurate. You have to understand this series to understand how big that start was yesterday.
Huge.
Remember, 13 innings the night before. Bullpens are
Early
shot.
game the next day.
And you play it to 2 o'clock. And he got lit up by this exact same lineup in game one that he had, I think, privately complained he didn't start in game one against Atlanta and pitched a gem in game two. So to go out there, pick up the ball, and not just pitch well, but to pitch well for 98 pitches, get through 7 and strike out, not striking them out so that your fielders who had let you down couldn't let you down, that was a huge start. It is rewriting some of the narrative.
Listen, Nick, I'm going to judge you as a man based on how you answer this next question. The glasses are bad enough, so there's a lot
come
of
on, man,
pressure
I
on
look
you
smart
right now.
today, you know what I'm saying? I saw Steven Jackson wearing his, man. I thought I'd pull mine out
so
too, you know?
The wussification of sports continues as some people are saying, Manny Machado, oh my God, he kicked someone's leg right across first base. We're going to fine him and all this other stuff. So there's a question, has Manny Machado hurt his reputation at all this postseason?
Yeah, you know, I don't think so.
Oh, good.
I don't feel like he
still have
has
respect for it.
completely hurt his reputation. Now, here's my thing. I guess if you don't like the villain, then I guess you might not like Manny Machado. He even came out and publicly stated, hey, I'm not that type of guy that's going to be diving into first base. I'm not going to be the guy that's...
Not my cup of tea. That's
Right, yeah, not my cup of tea. So here's my thing. I played with a player who was very similar to that in Robinson Cano. And sometimes these guys that play at that upper 1%, that none of us ever even realize how easy the game is, for these guys, they can make that game look easier. Now, the play at first base, that was noticeable. Those are the things that can put you on the radar of people that aren't even baseball fans.
It bothered you?
I think it caught me off guard. I did not expect him to do something like that in that big of a situation. 99% of ground balls to the shortstop in the big leagues get caught and you're out. That was a hard ground ball.
It was nothing.
It was nothing.
I really question those glasses now.
You think so?
Nothing, yeah.
You think I should go without them, man?
Go without the glasses.
No, I don't think. What do you think?
All right, thank you, Nick. All right, welcome back. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's Doug Gottlieb sitting in for Marcellus Wiley. We're rejoined by NBA champion Steven Jackson. Let's talk some hoops, which could be facing a big shakeup with the NBA's G League announcing it will offer select one-year contracts worth $125,000 to elite high school basketball prospects who want to skip a one-and-done year in college and go right to the pros. I think college basketball should be worried about this. This, to me, is going to entice a lot of the elite players. I think $125,000, and maybe they should pump it up to about $200,000 or eventually over time. I think this could be the end or make college basketball end their amateurism scam. To me, the NBA and the college basketball world should be working in conjunction together. I don't understand why they're not paying the college players this money while they're in college. Play the elite players this money while they're in college rather than, but I get it, the NBA wants to move everything to the G League, but I think this could shake up the college basketball world.
Well, I mean, like, look, you want to get in the back and forth about the college system, that's one thing. In regards to announcing that the G League's pumping up, there's a lot of unknowns. We don't know how many elite prospects. I do think
it's 10,
it could
hurt.
It would be very damaging. You take the top 10 high school prospects a year, and probably all 10 don't go. But if you get 10 of the top 20, that does a ton of damage. But what does it do to college? Now, do you have to stay in college 3 years? There's a lot we don't know. I do know we can have a moment of silence for the death of the JBA.
Thank you,
right?
my man.
It is over. From a first year where no one really watched and some dudes didn't get paid and the level of basketball wasn't great, to now the NBA going, yeah, that's over. Let's stop fooling around.
I don't even know if it ever was a thing though. Who played in that league? Me and who else?
Well, I have to say it's been getting a lot of traction. I've even seen highlights. People been posting highlights of guys playing in the league. But I agree with you.
Going by highlights on Twitter.
Yeah, well, they're not getting no TV coverage. They're not getting TV coverage. But you see people posting, especially ball, the Sun. You see people posting this highlights and stuff like that. But I totally agree with you. It's nothing but to destroy the JBA. That's the only reason they're doing this.
I don't think that's why they did it. I think they did it because
only reason that.
No, listen. The NBA has kind of quietly actually copied the college model from this perspective. All of these teams are opening brand new facilities. Unbelievable. Celtics, Wizards, Lakers, Clippers are going to build a new one. 76ers, all new ones. And what they're doing is they're incorporating their G League because the G League is not particularly well coached, not incredibly well funded, and if you're not practicing on site, you're not practicing under the watchful eye of the general managers or practicing against NBA players. Look, I don't think it's a smart plan for high school players because you're not playing real NBA basketball and you're not getting the level of attention to detail on how to develop 18, 19-year-old kids the way you would get in college. And I think you have a much more sustainable being if you go to college. But I agree with you, Jason. It's going to do damage to the college system if you take 10 or 15 or however many prospects off the top. I don't think they all go. And I think some of this is a red herring. You could always go straight out of high school. You could always sell your likeness. Your likeness doesn't have any value unless you play in college.
Play for Duke or
play
Kansas
for Duke or Kentucky.
Let me ask you all this question. Adrian Wojnarowski from ESPN had an interesting tweet. A top high school player would be wiser to take a year away with a trainer prior to entering the draft than wander into the G League with far more developed men. Most pre-college teens will be overwhelmed there. Wouldn't be a pre-draft showcase. Still, it's an alternative word. He overwhelmed in the G League at the top high school players?
If we talk about, his name is 94 Feet. He was assistant coach for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I'm not sure where he's coaching now. I think he's coaching in Orlando or Toronto. But he was with Cleveland with LeBron. If that type of coach is training you, that's different. But you're not going to get ready for these leagues with these soccer coaches that's all of a sudden turned basketball trainers. That a lot of these guys working out with. It was footage on Instagram where they're showing guys putting up a whole bunch of chairs around guys. Those type of trainers, they're not going to get you better. But if you're dealing with guys that are actually connected to the NBA, that really know the game, or that was previous coaches, that might work. But just hiring a trainer, I don't think that's going to be good
Look,
enough.
you're speaking of two guys that played in the minor leagues. This guy made it and became an NBA champion. I did not. I can tell you, you're going to get your ass kicked. Okay, because
in the G League.
In the G League, okay?
Yes.
Because they're men, because they know how to play.
And they're hungry.
And they're hungry. But I also think it's a terrible environment for the future of basketball. Because when you're in the G League, the one thing you know about any minor league is that no one really wants to be there.
Right.
From the general manager to the coach, the assistant coach, they're all and every bus trip, every plane flight, it's all about the league, the league, the league, the league. And the thing that makes great basketball great is about the team. And you only learn that when you play in college. It's about something bigger than you. Plenty of chance to be an individual, and I don't think it fosters a great growth environment.
And it's only one guy like the Lakers signed Ingram that's in the D League that's going to stay in there that long to get to the NBA. Everybody else is not thinking that. They're not planning on staying there 20 years to get to the NBA.
All right, some NBA teams tipped off their regular seasons last night, including the Houston Rockets, who got blown out by New Orleans. A lot was made about the Rockets adding Carmelo Anthony this summer, but the experiment isn't off to a great start, with Melo putting up just 9 points on 3 of 10 shooting and saying that coming off the bench is, quote, challenging mentally. This is not going to work. This will not end well. Melo's in great shape. He looks slim, but he's still Carmelo Anthony, and he had a plus-minus a -20 last night. It makes no sense. The ultimate ball stopper going to go play in Houston. It makes no sense. I don't like it.
Hey, the good news is he's playing for a coach he has immense amount of respect for and has a great history with. Oh, wait, it's Mike D'Antoni. Ooh, they hate each other. At least he's a very good post-up player, mid-range guy. That works in Houston's system, right? Oh, wait, it doesn't.
Right.
This one's he's washed, especially the way you play in the NBA where you're switching defenses, you attack the weak link. You can't play him at the
You made an interesting point. The league has changed.
Yes.
And it's moved away from Carmelo Anthony. If it were this league right now, when he entered as a rookie, he may have never been a superstar.
Well, I disagree. But I look at it like this, too, with Houston. He's more there for the playoffs. When those 3 balls are not falling and their style is not falling, when you need to drop it to somebody to get a bucket, I think that's what he's there for. But losing Ariza...
How you beat the Warriors with that, though?
When the game slows down.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Warriors
The
went
game
to
slows down.
post up
Playoffs
with
slow down.
Durant.
The game slow down in the playoffs.
They went to Durant some in the post.
Yeah.
I think that's the philosophy, that's the theory. In practice, it's a lot harder. You got to get to that point, not lose him. I think that's why they picked up Joe Johnson. They just never tried Joe Johnson last year.
But losing Ariza is killing them.
Yes.
Ariza had 21, 6, and 5 last night in Phoenix.
And
they need him.
can guard.
PJ Tucker, by himself, he can't stop the best player on the other team. You need the collective effort of Ariza and Tucker. Losing Ariza was big for them.
If they get healthy, I believe Oklahoma City is the second best team in the West. And I also think that one thing that we learned last night was not about the Rockets. It's about Anthony Davis. He came out and said, like, hey, I'm right there. I'm the best player in the league. And last night he played like it. They've had a couple years where their team hasn't been healthy. If they're healthy, that's a dangerous team.
And you look at
Golden State.
New Orleans pounded them inside. All three of their big guys had 20 plus. They pounded them in the inside, pounded them.
Let me ask y'all this. The Rockets have Carmelo in a very favorable situation. They can let him go, won't cost them any money. Do you think Carmelo survives this entire season in Houston? Obviously, you think so because you think he's going to be a force in the playoffs.
I think he's going to survive because he's going to help him in the playoffs. But just you on this show, 10,000 days, 10,000 shows in a row. Then they put you on another show. It's going to be different that first day. It's the first game for him. I think he'll fall into it, but I got to continue to say this. Losing Ariza is going to hurt them.
Yeah, and they gained Carmelo Anthony. It's subtraction by.
You think he survives?
I think he makes it to the playoffs, but again, I think it ultimately hurts them in the playoffs.
He's better than a lot of people in the league still.
Yes, but again, if Carmelo was to accept the role and go like, hey man, I come off the bench, that means I'm playing against second-team guys.
It's mentally challenging.
Correct.
He done said
It's the Allen Iverson. I don't know any MVP that comes off the bench. If he would have came off the bench, he would have played in the league for 5 or 6 more years. I agree with you, right? So, no, do I think it works? No. Do I think he lasts the season? Probably, because this is Chris Paul's guy, Chris Paul's personal project, and Chris Paul is probably like, hey, I got it. Don't worry about it. But we all know how this will end. It'll end poorly. It always ends poorly.
Melo's not smart enough to do what Vince Carter's done. Look at all the money Vince
He's
Carter
never had a guy like Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a good leader. I think Chris Paul can keep it together.
All right, welcome back to the show. Doug Gottlieb is sitting in for Marcellus Wiley. Doug, I don't know if you know this, but I hate social media.
More.
Have you seen my Twitter off?
I have.
Don't make me hit you with the Twitter off. All right, Darnell Smith, our social media manager, is here, Doug, to help me understand and learn to love social media. Not going to happen. Best and worst of social media. Darnell, what do you got today?
We're going to start off with your favorite player, OBJ, who recently had an interview with Uninterrupted. They posted a video on their Instagram, and you'll be surprised who he compared themselves to. Take a listen.
I'm trying my very best to be like LeBron, to be a LeBron in my own way. But we're not the same, you know? We're not the same. But to see the way that he carries himself, like, that's what I want. That's what I'm reaching for, is a legacy, you know? Outside the field, but more so on the field. Like, I'm trying to achieve some things and be a part of some things that are special.
All right, should OBJ model himself after LeBron?
Step one, cut the hair and get a real hairstyle. Well, hell, I don't know if that's step one. LeBron's gone crazy with his hair up top, too. I get step two, put some bass. Turn the bass up and turn the bass up.
It's too light for you?
Yeah, it's just, I need a little more bass than that. But yeah, OBJ is not going to be LeBron James and thought of as LeBron James anyway. LeBron James doesn't throw his head up against nets and all the other theatrics. Good luck with it. It's a good goal. It's a good life goal, but I don't see him getting there.
What was it from Austin Powers? I want a solid gold toilet, but it's just not in the cards, right? I mean, everybody has goals out there. I do, look, I understand the nuance to what he's saying. I think he's like, I want to. I want to not laugh at him.
Yeah.
But I also think that OBJ, in whatever he's done to shun the friends that had him in that hotel room like 5 months ago with the girl and what
drugs,
looked like coke.
Drugs,
he apparently has no friends left, because if you had a friend, they would go like, shh, shh, shh.
Just play the game.
Just play. Play, score touchdowns, be awesome, win games, get to the playoffs, and then maybe we can start talking about you with the great receivers of all time.
All right, what's next, Darnell?
Yeah, moving on to LeBron's new teammate, Lonzo Ball, who dropped a commercial promoting the new ZO2 Big Baller brand shoes.
Ballin'!
Twitter is buzzing not only about the commercial, which pays tribute to the classic Spike Lee Michael Jordan ad, but they're also applying the fact that these new shoes are going to sell for a discounted price of only $200, a big markdown from the $500 price that the original ZO2s had.
Those are some ugly kicks. Like, what is the color scheme there?
Steph Curry is cackling and rolling a blunt looking at them shoes, and Steph had them nurses' shoes he was trying to sell at one point. Now this dude done cut his shoes half price, and they still the most expensive shoes on the market.
You ain't gonna buy a pair of Whitlock?
Nah, I'm not gonna buy big baller shoes.
Man.
When they get down to about $125, I may take a look.
$200 for a dude who's coming off the bench? Like,
That's true.
Who's buying who goes, hey, Mom, I want to be like, no, the starting point guard of the Lakers. No, not Rondo, Lonzo. Like, he ain't a starting point guard anymore. Look, I thought the ad was clever, although copying Nike when you're not Nike, that one comes off as hack. And then the shoes are just, they're ugly. There's no other way around it. Those are not shoes. And I love shoes. And I own hundreds of them. And it's a constant fight with my wife to get the shoes. But those are ugly. It looked like he stepped on a bunch of
Let me tell you something. When they do a remake of the TV show Lost, it's going to feature LeVar and Lonzo Ball.
Oh,
What's
man.
next, Darnell?
Yeah, let's talk about Rick Pitino, who joined Twitter in July and has been using it to promote his new podcast and book to his followers, who he affectionately calls Patweetos. Pitino has now been out of coaching for a full year after getting fired from Louisville last October, and he tried to make light of it yesterday. I just saw on TV that the unemployment rate was at a 50-year low. Really? Sure feels a lot higher at my house. Y'all like the new self-deprecating Rick Pitino?
Love it. I always love self-deprecation, love a guy with a sense of humor. I've always been a Rick Pitino fan and supporter. I feel like he's been done wrong here in college basketball, so I like that he's kept a sense of humor. He's got enough money to keep a sense of humor.
Look, I love that he has a sense of humor. I love the self-deprecation. And I love Patweetos. I had some Cool Ranch Patweetos. They were amazing before the show.
They're better than Cheetos.
I think, look, Rick Pitino was ahead of his time. He tanked before tanking was cool with the Celtics. He was all about the three ball with the New York Knicks before anybody else. And all this stuff going on in college basketball now, he's been doing that for years. So I think he's the best modern college basketball coach we've ever seen. And to have a sense of humor leads me to believe maybe there's a chance he gets another job.
All right, Darnell, what's next?
Yeah, moving on to a story you guys talked about earlier. The NBA's G League announced it will pay one-year contracts worth $125,000 to elite high school ballers who don't want to go to college or overseas for a year. A lot of people are buzzing about how this will affect the NCAA, but one sports writer took issue with it in a different way. Referencing the $125,000, Katie Barnes tweeted, "That's $10K more than Diana Taurasi made in the WNBA last year." Y'all got an issue with the G Leaguers making more money than WNBA stars?
No, because there's just as much interest in the G League as there is in the WNBA. And so if there's a $10,000 discrepancy, that's not a wide margin. Both leagues are uninteresting.
Yes. I think 12 WNBA teams lost money last year, but unlike NBA teams, you can't sell them and make money, right? You're paid what you're worth. WNBA players, you may not like what they make for a shortened season, but it's the only way to keep these talented ladies employed. Don't conflate the talent of the WNBA, which is outstanding, with the amount of money they make. They make it because people don't really care to come watch.
It's just a television show, and it doesn't have high enough ratings to justify the salaries that be paid like NBA players, to be paid better. They need to stop it. All right, Darnell, what's next?
Yeah, last but not least, you know I'm an early bird. Got up after my Frosted Flakes this morning. I watched Turn On the First Things First, and Chris Carter interviewed James Conner, asking about the Le'Veon Bell situation. Take a listen.
Can you explain to our fans and everything your existing relationship with him? How often do you communicate with him and the role that he's played in your development?
Man, anytime I do something good on the field, Le'Veon, I always come back in the locker room from a text from him, you know, saying, good game or that nice move right there. So me and Le'Veon are super cool. He's a great person, and, you know, with him holding out, people get to call him selfish and all that, but not the case at all. You know, it's his business, and that's my guy.
Are you guys buying that these two are really that cool?
Yeah, I am. That surprised me, and that great look for Le'Veon Bell. That kind of surprised. I didn't think he would do that.
It doesn't surprise me because I do think that in basketball and baseball and football, guys that are talented are really confident in themselves. He doesn't think James Conner is going to take his carries when he comes back. He thinks he's the best running back in the league.
He is.
And okay, so maybe he is. I also think it reflects well on James Conner, right? That he can have the balance to not carry the bitterness, whatever the bitterness is with the offensive line, where they all turned on Le'Veon Bell. That's not the case with James Conner. Here's a guy who beat cancer. Here's a guy that finally earned a starting spot when Le'Veon didn't show up and people thought he canceled the season, and he's overperformed anybody's expectations. I think it reflects well on both of them, but it actually doesn't surprise me. Pros are pros in how they treat their fellow position mates.
All right, Christine Leahy joins me for our approval ratings. Today we're talking about LeBron James, who makes his Laker debut tonight. Luke Walton says he'll have LeBron playing less minutes, but I still got LeBron up 1 point from my last rating from about 8 or 9 days ago. I've got LeBron now at a 78 from he was a 77.
He went up for
That's
you.
almost GOAT status. He's an all-star. I have him up 2 points, or down 2 points actually, in job performance from a 25 to a 23. Luke Walton just said the guy's not going to be playing that many minutes. All-time greatness stays the same at 24. Character, I drop him a point because he's not all in on basketball. I don't like that from an 18 to a 17. Up 4 points in authenticity. I like it. He's keeping it real. He doesn't care about basketball. I'm not playing a lot of minutes. Total of 78.
I think I know why you had me on this episode.
Why?
Well, you know my feelings about LeBron, but I think I'm gonna, I don't know. I think I'm gonna surprise some people with this one because I rated him even higher than you did. Job performance, I'm giving him a 25 because, hey, he played all the games last year, and I was on him for a while for not playing. He played them all last year. We don't know that yet, Jason.
Well,
we want to
we'll
keep him
see.
fresh, but I am not mad at it. All-time greatness. I'm just going to knock 5 points off here, one for every finals loss he had, every finals series. I think
20, that's
fair.
way too low.
That's fair. He
Guy's
is
one of the 3 or 4 best basketball players of all time.
What'd you give him for that category?
I gave him a 24.
Yeah, no, 20. I gotta knock him. Michael Jordan gets 25. For character, 25 points. And this is why. I don't know him well enough personally to criticize his character. I don't. I've seen some things that maybe I'm like, I don't know.
He's a coach killer, Christine. There's slaying coaches littered all over the NBA
I like to know a
landscape.
person personally before I judge their character, but I think you might like this one. On authenticity, I'm giving him 12.5, and that is because I think half of them is authentic and half of them is not. And when he starts talking about that he came to the Lakers to play basketball, that is some BS. No way did he come here to play basketball. He came here because all he wants to do is Hollywood stuff. He wants to play and be on the court, but his production company and everything with Maverick, it's growing. I swear I hear about his new shows and projects that he's working on constantly.
You give him an 82.5, you got him as a GOAT.
Okay, but here's the thing. Does a GOAT have to be one person per sport, or can you have multiple GOATs?
No, you can have multiple GOATs.
Okay.
Anybody that can
Because he's
raise
not the GOAT.
No,
We know Michael Jordan is the GOAT.
All right.
He can be a GOAT.
We got about 2.5 minutes. I want to talk about your new show, Fair Game.
Yes.
Starts on Monday.
Starts Monday, 5:30 Eastern.
What are you hoping to accomplish? Why should we tune in?
So I just really, first of all, I mean, I wanted to talk a little more, so I think you're going to see me talk more. And I was looking for something really authentic. I wanted to do some projects that I felt really passionate about and have some really genuine conversations that aren't necessarily about grabbing the big headlines and hot takes. Those are great. We've got space for that, but I wanted to do something that felt really authentic to me.
When I talk to people about me, I'm known on television as being, wonderfully attractive, very smart,
Yeah, that's what I
very
think of.
witty, things like that.
Yeah.
So again, what's going to be your signature? What's your show going to be
It's
known
me.
for?
It's me. I'm not gonna say, oh, I'm witty, I'm this, I'm that. I'm me. I think people, if you watch The Herd or if you watch different shows that I've done, I'm me. And that's what you're gonna see on this, but just a little bit more of me. And you're gonna see how I interact with these different guests that we have. You're seeing some of them here. That's the commercial that we just did.
You're
So we have a
starting.
variety of guests. We have actors, musicians, we have athletes, people in the front office. All kinds.
Your first guest kind of shocked me and surprised me.
Good.
You're starting with Ray Rice, the former Baltimore Raven running back, involved in some serious controversy. Why Ray to start off?
Well, as you said, it's controversial. And it was really important to me to have a conversation with him, actually. I've been really interested in his story with his wife, and he hasn't done anything in a while. And I feel very passionately about that issue of domestic violence. I think that I've made that pretty clear on the different platforms that I've been on. There's something very specific that I wanted to talk to Ray Rice about, and I really don't want to give too much away, and I don't want to tell you how you should feel or you shouldn't going into this. I'm excited for people to see how this interview went, what he said, what's going on with him and his wife. You should watch it. I think it's
Let me ask you this.
Sure.
Did you leave the interview, we only got a couple seconds, did you leave the interview with more respect for Ray or the same amount of respect?
I'm not going to answer. I'm not going to answer that because I don't want to give away. I don't want to give away what happened in the interview. It really is. Go in with whatever mindset you have, but just watch it. I'm really excited for people to see it.
Thank you for stopping by. It was great to have you today on Speak for Yourself.